funds that you have as against using the money to do other things and then having more returns. So again, practical terms, the 500,000, the first guy that did the $500,000. So even if the house appreciated by 100%, all he had is $1 million. The guy that put down the 100,000, assuming he has the same 400,000, so he invested 400,000 and then only put down 100,000. So he has his $1 million appreciation on the home, but also has the returns that he got from the 400,000. Who will get to his wealth objective faster is the second guy. Okay, next slide, please. In your debt journey, you need to be careful of your credit score. Your credit score is your financial reputation. In banking, there's something we call the 5 C's of credit. The first C is your character. Because I do not know you, what I'll use to judge your character is your credit score. So I'm a commercial banker, so I deal with a lot of business. I get very good, solid businesses, strong cash flows, doing so well. Someone else credit, and I want to cry because he doesn't have a good character, unfortunately. That's how we interpret it. You understand what I mean? So your credit score is your financial reputation. What are tips that you need to put in place to ensure that your credit score is enhanced? Number one, ensure that you pay every bill on time and every time. Let them not be, don't leave bills unpaid. In fact, with most banks, you can set up automatic payments. Take advantage of that. Number two, if you have credit cards or lines of credit, please keep your credit utilization below 30%. Your credit utilization should be below 30%. So if I have a credit card of $1,000, I will try not to exceed $300. If I exceed $300, I would ensure that I pay down to at least $300. Try not to exceed 30% of your limit. Next one, the longer your history, the better your credit. So when you came to Canada, that first card they gave you, don't close it. Just leave it running. Because the longer your history, the better your credit. People with longer history tend to have better credit scores because it's an algorithm and system can what's the word? The system sees that you've been consistent over the years. For someone who just shows a 4-year history, it might not be sufficient information, or a shorter history, I would say, right? Then credit mix. Try. I know some of us don't like debt, but credit card is not the only credit product we have in Canada. There's lines of credit as well. Don't be stuck with credit cards. There are certain payments you shouldn't even make with your credit card. For example, you are making a major purchase that costs $1,000. I understand why I would want to use my credit card to make that purchase, probably because of the points I'll get. But ensure that you pay it out right away with your line of credit. The difference between a credit card and line of credit is that your credit card, the interest rate on it is way higher. Your line of credit has a smaller interest rate. But beyond that, the line of credit is designed for those kind of one-off heavy payments. Your credit card is not. Your credit card is designed for day-to-day. Your credit card is just designed to help you augment your shortfalls in your. So maybe you want to make quick payments, $5, $10, $20, $100, and so on and so forth. But your line of credit is for major expenses, right? So use your line of credit when you have a major expense to make. Use your credit card for everyday payment. And then avoid too many applications. You want to buy a car and you've gone to talk to 7 dealers. I hope you know that 7 dealers do your credit at the same time. And each time you get that hit, it goes down, because you know what that speaks of? It speaks of desperation. And when you're in financial need, you don't want to be desperate. So avoid too many credit hits. We still have a long way to go, but I'll pause here and then I'll take questions. I'm hoping that as I'm taking questions, I'll be able to address the other issues. we still need to talk about investments, mostly investments actually. But maybe as questions come up, I would address them. Question time. Oh, yeah. So we have a Slido, right? If you are shy and you do not want to ask questions with the microphone, please scan the QR code and then the questions will be displayed on the screen. But if you are okay, we have the mic there. Please raise your hand and then your questions would be addressed. I prepared specifically for Dr. Kunle.
Okay. Maybe I believe maybe there will be another opportunity to, have something like this, because where I was really waiting for was the investment part, So if you have time, what I just want to know is all this TFSA, that's where I have not TFSA, RRSP, how does it help us?
Okay.
And how can we take advantage of it? That's actually all those acronyms.
All right. It's a pearl hands up.
I just wanted to ask, if you qualify for a credit, does that mean you qualify for a line of credit? And does that apply to the under 30% utilization as well?
Sorry,
Sorry.
If you qualify for a credit.
If you qualify for a credit card, does that mean you can qualify for a line
of
credit? Okay. And does that also apply to the under 30% utilization? And what makes you qualify for a line of credit? Because I know credit cards are easier to qualify.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll take your question, and then if there are no other questions, they're okay. So let's talk about the credit card. Now, credit cards have been made in such a way that they are easier to access, because that is the only way newcomers get to build their credit. So whether you're a student, you get probably $500 or $1,000 limit, and so on and so forth. For line of credit, it's not as easy. First of all, you must be in a full-time permanent job, and you must show at least a 2-year history, right? Well, if you are not on a permanent job, you must show 2-year history. If you're in a permanent job, even less than 1 year would do, as long as you are currently employed. Secondly, is that you must have utilized the credit card that you had initially very well, right? So that your credit score has gone up to a point where the bank can entrust you with a line of credit. Because usually lines of credit are usually higher in some instances, right? Another thing with line of credit is that sometimes you even need not apply. If you have a credit card from a bank and you have information properly input, so you are a full-time employee, this is how much you earn per year, etc., etc. Periodically, the bank pulls your records and then they go through them. And when they see that you have managed the little credit they've given you well, they will come back and offer you a line of credit, right? Now, the 30% rule also applies to a line of credit as well. You want to try as much as you can to stay within 30%. Okay? What can you do if you are above 50% on your need? Okay. If you're above on your need based on that. Now, again, like I said, that was just a rule of thumb, right? There are people who may be above 50%. Again, you need to ask the question, why? There are certain instances where there is nothing you can do. You just have to walk through the remaining whatever is left for other purposes. So, for example, if you've already bought a house, right, that is more than what your earnings can carry, you're already in the house. I wouldn't advise you to go ahead and sell. But depending on the situation, there are workarounds. So the house that I mentioned, for example, you can decide to rent out a part of the house if your situation allows. Now, this is a very generic response. We need to drill more to understand your situation so we can give you answers that are tailored to you. So if you want to see me after the service, that's great. If you're not comfortable with that, you can go talk to your financial advisor in the bank and they'll be able to guide you. Thanks for letting me know about the line of credit. How easy, hard is it to get a line of credit? I wouldn't say it's hard as long as you've used your credit well and you have a means of income. You well most banks would want you to be a permanent resident before they give you a line of credit. Most banks, because they don't want you to run away with their money. Right? Yeah. Any other question? If you have a failed investment, what strategies can you use to pay off such a huge loan? And what are the impacts on one's credit scores? I might need more information on this. When you say huge, what anyways, I would advise, I would answer it to the best of my knowledge, but again we might have to drill down. What I can use to pay off such loan? So you would have to prioritize the payout of that loan. So something has to give, is the point I'm making. You may have to, what's the word I will call it? Delay gratification. You may have to delay gratification. Money that should have gone to other things, you focus on putting in a lot of money on that loan. Now, if the loan is a credit, if the loan is a line of credit, I actually have a strategy that I personally use. If the loan is a line of credit, am I exposing myself now? There are times that yes, turn off camera. There are times I take out money from my line of credit and I just discover that I may have spent beyond what I should have. So what I do is I turn my line of credit into my everyday account. When I get paid, I just move all the money into my line of credit. And then I spend from the line of credit. What that does is your interest. So every day, what they do in calculating your interest is that they take the average 30-day balance. What that means is every day they record your balance every day. So they do that for 30 days and they take the average and multiply by the interest rate, right? So if you do that method I mentioned, there will be days where your balance will be zero or less than what it should be. And there are days where your balance. So with that, it helps you reduce the cost of that line of credit. And then you try to ensure that each time when you pay into it, you ensure that you do not go back to the balance where it was before. That way, you consistently, it's like mountain you're trying to, you just constantly bring it down gradually until it comes down to a low amount or to zero. I don't take that this question first. Sorry.
Thank you. My question is what you said about mortgage. The fact that somebody has 500,000 and they want to buy a house, and versus the person that has 5% or 20%. When you look at the amortization, when somebody is borrowing $500,000 on 25-year amortization, it's probably going to like over $1 million. So I kind of feel like if somebody has the money to be able to pay for his house, or they pay 20%, and eventually they're able to pay the entire amount in 5 years, I think it's really good, because eventually they can avoid a lot that they are paying on interest. The other thing is that even if they pay $100,000 for 20% or $500,000 mortgage, the $400 that they are investing, that they now have, that they're investing, how can we be sure that the interest or whatever the returns that they're going to get on that money is going to measure up to the amount that mortgage would have been over the 30 years amortization period?
Thank you very much, sir. That's such a great point. So the thing with mortgages now, as a finance person, I personally believe that $1 today is worth more than $1 in future. That's the first rule. It's called the time value of money principle. So if I have a 25-year or a 30-year mortgage, as a finance person, when I'm buying the house, I put down 5-10%. Of course, you're not going to do it in such a way that you tighten your financial situation. If you need to put down more so that your monthly payment on the mortgage is sufficient to help you go about your everyday life, then you should do that. But we're just assuming here that everything, as they say in business, ceteris paribus, right? All other things being equal. So when I put down my 5% or my 10%, my next plan is to take up strategies that reduces my interest cost. There is the interest rate that is charged on a mortgage, but there's also something called the effective interest rate. The effective interest rate, what that means is any amount you pay on the mortgage that is over and above your monthly payment goes towards principal. Do you agree? What that does is that it reduces your interest cost over time. And as you continue to make those payments towards your principal, and your principal are reducing, the effect is that your amortization that should have been 30 years or 25 years starts coming down. That is a strategy that I would use, just like Daddy had said, towards paying my mortgage than giving up the entire 20-25% from day one. Again, because of the principle, I want to be in control of how I use that money. Does that make sense? Now, what works for each individual is very different. And that's why you need to talk to a financial advisor and let them know what exactly your plan is, and they can walk you through a plan that fits into your situation. Right? So what I had said was a blanket thing, blanket rule. Each individual has what is unique to them based on their current situation. Does that? Okay. Did I answer the question, sir? Thank you, sir. Brother me.
Now, I want to ask a question, like on that tax return. So you said something like when we give we get tax return, right? So like basically for the one that we're getting on the tithe. So I know someone that when they give him the tax return for the tithe, it tears the money. It doesn't. So like what that money that we are getting back? I know it's God's money. Are we giving it back to God, or we are spending it for ourselves? Because the Bible said, and it's very, and honestly, I don't want to know because it's kind of very tricky. The Bible says that the money God said is my money. You are robbing me, and where I'm coming from in Nigeria, we don't do tax return. We give the tithe and we forget about it. But yeah, they are giving us back that money. But we know that we are giving the money to God. We know that God does not spend money, but God, if we now take that money and spend it.
Okay, because of time, first of all, perspective matters, mindset matters. The money you gave to God, you gave to church. The money government gave you, they didn't come and collect it from your church.
But it's not from the tithes that they are giving you. It's not from the. Where is the money coming from?
So the reason why you got back that money, government did not give you back the tithe money. What they did was, when they were going to assess how much tax you were going to pay, they did some deductions based on certain expenses you made. So forget about tithe. Another example is when you contribute to your RRSP, whatever contribution you make to your RRSP is used to deduct your income. So if you earn 100,000, for example, and you contributed 20,000 in the year, are you listening? And you contributed 20,000 in the year. When government is going to assess your tax, they will assess your tax based on $80,000. Not $100,000. So when your employer was going to take out money, they were taking out money based on 100,000. But now that government is going to be doing your review, they are reviewing based on 80,000. The difference is why you are getting money back. That's the same thing too with tithing. You gave your money to the church. To God, these are semantics. To God, to church. It doesn't even have to be in church. It can be any other charity. But what matters is that you gave, right? And then it was used to reduce your tax obligation. So because your employer had taken out money as taxes, when government assessed you, they came to a realization that you were supposed to be taxed less, and then they refunded you. It's a perspectives matter. Maybe Dr. Dami will throw more light on the spiritual implication, but I do not see anything wrong personally. It's all about understanding. Praise God. It's all about understanding. Praise God. One house, please. It's all about understanding. I do not see anything wrong in government reviewing my taxes and then giving me back a refund? Dr. Dami.
Yeah, I also follow your line of thought actually. And the point is that what are you also doing with the tax return that is coming to you? I believe very strongly that God is giving us opportunity to make wealth, and then we can also raise our financial, I don't know how to call it, raise our, the amount of money that we have. And when we do that, we can profit more for God. You can help more people. You can be more valuable to people around you and society. So that's how I see it. What are you doing with the tax returns that you are having? God wants us to have businesses. He wants us to build businesses. If you have that tax return, you can use it to build businesses, and you can also help the church through it.
If you give it to me, I'll pay tithe. Don't worry.
Amen. I was just going to add to that too. It's just like when God says, okay, if you pay your tithe, I will open the windows of heaven and pour you down a blessing that you will not have enough room to receive it. Will you return it back to God? Of course, the blessings means that He also expects you to be accountable with it and do more. You understand? So it's just like a system of reward for giving to charity or whatever. It doesn't mean they are returning it to you per se. You understand? God in the Bible it also says, he who gives to the poor lends to God, and God will do what? Will reward him for it. So when you say God rewarding you is also no good. No, God, I've done it now. Why are you rewarding me? You understand? So these are just, reward systems. It doesn't mean that you are transacting and getting back. No.
Sister,
Praise God. Okay, I got tax return. Will I pay the tithe of the tax return? That's one question. I have another question. Do you want to answer that one? Okay, the second question, you were talking about your net worth and all. So if I've not bought a house before, and I also have this huge business idea, or probably I have a business, and it's registered as a sole proprietorship or something. As a financial person, what would you advise? Should I take, and you're saying good debt in terms of loan, should I take a loan to push up my business, to scale my business to the next level, or go for mortgage for a house?
very good question. Thank you. So personally, when I receive my tax return, I pay tax on it because it's an income for me. Sorry, tithe. What did I say? Tithe, yeah, not tax, tithe, yes. God's tax. I pay tithe on it, right? Now, the second question is a very good question. Should I buy a house now, or should I take a loan to buy a business? Now, sorry, to scale a business, or same thing, yeah. Now, the thing is, for business loans are not personal loans. So when you take a business loan, it would most likely not show up on your personal bureau, meaning that you can do the two at the same time. Now, you said so. Okay, so it's going to be in your name. Okay. Now, but that's the first point, is that if it's incorporated, you can take both at the same time. Now, for your unique situation where you want to do a business loan or a mortgage loan, first question I will ask, if I were in your shoes, is if I invest this money in the business, what's my payout period? So, like, how long would it take for me to recover that money? When you put money is an amplifier, loan is an amplifier. That's why we call it leverage. When I put loan in my business, what I wasn't able to achieve with my own resources, the loan is going to help me achieve. So within a short time, I might achieve that scale, right? So if I were in your shoes, if I'm going to be able to achieve that scale within a period of time that I'm comfortable with, then I'll go the way of the business and hold on to the mortgage. Because the thing with mortgages is, it takes, before you can start realizing returns on your mortgage. By returns, I mean equity in the building or appreciation in the property. It might take a longer period of time. But for the business, the way you're sounding is like you know what exactly you're going to invest. So it's not a speculative investment. You know what you're going to be investing your money in. You know the kind of business you want to do. And the returns, of course, nothing is fully certain, but there's a high probability of certainty. So in that regard, I might want to do that first and then use the returns from the business in future to do the mortgage. It depends. It depends. So the way we adjudicate personal loans is very different from how we adjudicate business loans. Right? From the business perspective, we want to see if your business, first of all, can even cash flow the loan you are going to take. There are certain banks, and I'm not bragging, but my bank is one of them. Sometimes you can even do 100% financing, so you don't even have to put down anything from your pocket. Do you understand what I mean? But it all depends. There's some ratios and accounting analysis will do to determine if your business is strong enough to take the loan that you're taking. If it is not, that is when we'll start asking you to put down money. So it's two different things entirely. Yeah. Pastor Mrs. Okay. No, she said she doesn't have a question. We'll see personally. So I think we'll have a part 2 of this. It's just a lot to talk about. So we'll do a part 2 on the investment.
Okay, so I just want to ask a question on the business part of it. So assuming a bank is offering you a line of credit, sometimes they just offer business on my business account, and then I feel like, oh, I'm in Nigeria anymore. It's in the Bible, I should not check this day. So, so I'm trying to be, in Nigeria, we're taught that when you're doing business, it's more of my personal money and then maybe support from family. And then there's this line of credit and I'm like, oh, should I just take this line of credit to support my business, or would I rather just incorporate and take a business loan on the business name? Because the line of credit is coming to me in my name because I'm running my business with my account, and then the cash flow is why they're offering me that amount. That's question 1. The other question now is, assuming I take a loan.
Let me just answer question 1 first.
Okay.
So, first of all, never, ever, ever you run your business in your personal account, because you're cheating yourself and you're cheating your business. Right? If you have to, yes. The reason is because there are benefits that come to the business that is different from what comes. So take, for example, the line of credit that you were given was in your personal name.
No. So, if you don't incorporate your account, if you register your business as a sole proprietor, you can still have a business account.
Oh, yeah.
So everything I'm talking about comes in the business account, but my name is like married to the business.
Yeah, makes sense. I get what you mean.
So that's what I'm saying. If they're offering you a line of credit, they're offering me in my business account, but somehow my name is still
on the account.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? We'll talk after this. We'll talk after the meeting, because there are certain questions I need to ask you before I advise what best course of action to take, and I'm not sure I want it to be public. Okay,
so the second question, that's popular. So let's say somebody takes a business loan, and now you expand, and then God helps you pay back the loan. But let's just say in terms of product, you have like 1,000 product, and then you take a loan, and you're able to get 10,000 product, and you now pay back the loan, and then you're back to maybe 3,000 product, 4,000 product. Are you going to retake another loan, or you just go from where you are?
You can always go back, take back another loan. You can have multiple loans. But first of all, how did you drop from 10,000 to 3,000? So what a loan does is that it enhances your capacity to do more. That's what a loan does. So take, for example, you took 50,000 and you invested in your business. You were able to buy more inventory and you sold and you made more money. The only reason why you find yourself back in 3,000 is if you took all that money and put in your pocket and used to go and eat. But if I understand. Yeah.
I'm saying for people that sell products. So let's assume you have 1,000 items, you took a loan, and you're able to scale to 10,000 items. And then, of course, you have a space, you have utilities, you have every other thing, possibly you have a staff. Now, you pay back the loan, and of course, you're able to move from 1,000 items to 3,000 items. That's what I'm trying to do. Because if the money is not yours, you still have to pay back the loan with interest.
So, when you took that loan and you increased your capacity to sell, right? Did you make a profit or a loss? Exactly. So you made a profit. What did you do with your profit that you made? So 3,000. Okay. So yeah, okay. So that 3,000 that you have is inventory, right? So what are you going to do with the inventory? You said at a profit. I'm not understanding your question. So you upscaled your business from 1,000 to 3,000 using a loan. Okay.
To 10, you upscale your business.
Okay, so let me explain how a loan works, right? When you take a loan, right, whatever interest you are going to be making on that money should be such that you have sufficient profit to reinvest in the business. There's nothing wrong with you taking an additional loan. You can always go back, take more loans. But usually, when you, okay, now, there are two types of loans. There is a loan that is required to fund your working capital. So what that means is you want to invest in inventory. There's a line of credit that you use to invest in your inventory, right? That line of credit keeps turning. Even if you pay it down today, there's a chance that you come back in future to take from it again and continue. That's why it's called a line of credit. You pay down, you use, and you pay down and use. But there's also a fixed loan that is used to focus on fixed projects, on capital projects. For example, you want to buy a shop, or you rented a shop and you need to improve the shop so that it becomes nice for people to come in. For that kind of loan, you take a fixed loan and then do that job. The line of credit loan is almost permanent because as you continue to run your business, you will continue to rely on it. Do you understand what I'm saying? The reason is because even as you are running your business, there's something that is called a cash flow cycle. I don't want to go into deep details here, but it is almost certain that as your business continues to grow, there would always be that shortfall that would need to be funded by external funds. But that is just a working capital portion. The fixed portion, the fixed loan, the one you go take from the bank that is given to you as a loan and not a line of credit, you don't use that to fund the purchase of inventory. That's what we call a mismatch. We can discuss later, right? You don't use, so if you are going to rely on the loan and that's going to be a permanent feature of your business, there's certain things you need to look out for to ensure that the revenues you're making for your business is constantly growing so that you are maximizing the use of that line of credit. But would there be a time where you wouldn't have to rely on that line of credit again? I don't think so. If it ever comes to that time, it's sometimes a bad sign. I'll explain to you later. Yeah.
credit or whatever system.
and or going to debt. And then secondly, I want to ask, do we have cooperatives here?
Yes, they are cooperatives.
They are cooperatives
Yeah,
because those are part of the things in Nigeria that we took advantage of that helped us. Very low interest rates and also other things that you can come together to achieve, maybe in large purchases or whatever.
But you know why cooperatives are not that common here? Because the cooperatives you had in Nigeria, they were filling the gaps that the banks refused to fill.
Yeah.
They were doing the jobs that the TFSAs and the RSPs were not doing.
Okay.
But now that you have those systems in place, there is no motivation for people to go and be doing the ESUSU and the cooperatives.
But we still do have
But
cooperatives
of
here.
course, there are still cooperatives.
And we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, within the last 5 minutes I have, okay, let me just take this question very quickly. What are the best platforms for beginners? Best investment platform for beginners? You can use WorldSimple. You can use your bank has a platform, but usually it comes at a fee. WorldSimple is free. There's Questrade that is also free. And then for complicated ones, for people who are way advanced, you can use what they call IBKR. Is it wise to continue investing when one has credit card loans or line of credit debt? Usually, I do not encourage it. I encourage that you pause on your investment, clean out your debts, and then continue your investment. That's what I would advise. Should I contribute more to the employee 2% matching?